Hey everybody, this video is sponsored by Squarespace. Elden Ring is being adapted to another medium, and it's finna to be a movie. They're making an Elden Ring movie, folks, and I, for one, am very excited. But as I've been streaming, I've noticed some members of my chat and members of the community are nervous. Why? Aren't video game adaptations all so good?
Chicken jockey!
For whatever reason, we are now living through the golden age of video game, movie, and adaptations. And we've had some good ones, and we've had some bad ones. When I say we've had good ones, I really mean like 3? Don't get me wrong, there have been some that have been okay. Like, yeah, that was a movie, it had a beginning, middle, and end, and I could point at the screen when I recognized things. These are the Jack Black video game adaptations that weren't Borderlands. Mario, Minecraft. Are they good movies? God, no. I watched the Mario movie on a plane. I had nothing else I could do, and I was still mad that I wasted my time watching it. But I know a lot of people do like it because they pointed at the screen and they went, "That's comic. That's Drybone. That's Donkey Kong." That's not a good movie. Now, the Minecraft movie is just a much more shameless version of that because Jack Black just screams it, whether it be lava chicken, flint and steel, or of course, say it with me now, chicken jockey. But it's not all smiles and rainbows. We're also getting bad video game adaptations. You know, Borderlands, the Devil May Cry series. I think that was bad. I honestly, I didn't watch the Devil May Cry series. I also didn't watch the Borderlands movie. I don't know. Sometimes I just watch a trailer for something and you can go, oh yeah, that's gonna suck. What am I not mentioning here? Last of Us, because the fandom for that is so disgusting and toxic, I don't want to even look at it. I don't even want to look in the general direction of it. But today, we're talking about the Elden Ring adaptation and why I think it will fall into the pretty good to very good category. Pretty goods, we got our Sonic trilogy. They're movies that are serviceable kids movies. I would put them maybe a little bit behind the James Gunn Scooby-Doo movies. We all call them the James Gunn Scooby-Doo movies, but Raja Gosnell directed them. So shout outs to Raja Gosnell. Am I saying that right? That is not what I thought that guy would look like. To be fair, that guy also directed the Smurfs movies that were terrible. So, you know, like, I don't know. Maybe it was just James Gunn cooking up something special in the screenplay department. I'm hoping Elden Ring will fall into around that category where it's a serviceable genre film of its genre. It's pretty good, maybe not groundbreaking. Though there have been some video game adaptations that I would say completely nailed it. Totally faithful to the series, totally faithful to people have to watch this shit, and it has to be good. I'm talking about Fallout. I'm talking about Walt on My Gog Till I Gins. I'm talking about the Castlevania anime. Ooh, wait, there's some good video game adaptations. You can absolutely do it. So why is everyone so nervous about Elden Ring? Well, I think there are a few reasons to be nervous about it. One, it's a video game adaptation. Yikes. Even though we've had some good ones, we know there's a lot more stinkers. When I said Mario and Minecraft were some of the better ones, yeah, I hate those movies. But also, making a high fantasy, high concept, lots of lore fit into one movie is hard. Tonally speaking, I don't think there is really a fantasy movie that was a big successful box office hit, a critical success, and an epic fantasy movie that was R-rated all in one kit. The closest I can think of is Lord of the Rings, but Lord of the Rings was 3 movies. So trying to fit all of Elden Ring into one movie, that could be a struggle. For whatever reason, I think having a lighter tone helps a lot of fantasy movies. I am not saying that Elden Ring should have a lighter tone. It should be a very grim and serious movie, though there should be some room for some jokes. Elden Ring the game has jokes. Hopefully Elden Ring the movie can have jokes. I'm not talking about chicken jockey or casting Jack Black as the Tarnished. I'm just talking about little under the radar puns that fly by. Like when Ronnie calls you a dogged fellow. Dogged. Blythe is a dog. She's saying you're a dog. Anyway, some fantasy movies that have worked as solo endeavors: Stardust, Princess Bride, and the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Now, only one of those was actually a commercial success, and the other two tanked at the box office pretty hard, pretty famously. Though Dungeons and Dragons had another issue that we'll talk about a bit later. Now, here's the thing. I do think that Elden Ring, the movie, will probably be the first of an Elden Ring movie in a series of Elden Ring movies. The studio that bought it was A24, and they have done a few sequels. X, Maxine, and Pearl? Yeah. Mia Goth, slasher movies, they're all pretty good. Two of them are really good, one of them's okay. But normally A24 doesn't do sequels. They instead just kind of work with the same director, give them a budget again, and say, go nuts, buddy. It's a pretty cool studio, and a lot of film nerds. Ugh, I don't have my glasses. One second, I'm going to go get my glasses just for this bit. And a lot of film nerds. There you go. A lot of film nerds like A24. They make cool movies. Movies like The Lighthouse, Hereditary, Midsummer. Most recently, Friendship with Tim Robinson. Am I saying Tim Robinson should be in the Elden Ring movie? Yes. Make it happen, A24, or else you're cowards. Something I really appreciate about A24, though, and the director, Alex Garland, is their budgets. And budget is, I think, why this movie will be successful, and why I think A24 getting it, and Alex Garland getting it specifically, will mean that Elden Ring is going to be a box office success. And you know what else I think is going to be successful? Your website that you build with today's sponsor, Squarespace. That's right, gamers, this video is sponsored by Squarespace. It is the best place for you to start making your website for your business because of Squarespace Design Intelligence. Design Intelligence means that you don't have to be an expert in editing and designing websites. You just got to know what your brand is, what it does, what its identity is, and the Design Intelligence will guide you there, helping you choose fonts, color schemes, sizes of your images. It's all going to make sure that it all looks nice. You're never going to see a bad looking Squarespace site because Design Intelligence. You're also never going to have an issue getting your customers to see your website. Squarespace gives you analytics so you can know where people are coming from, where you can post, where you can integrate your Squarespace site so that your customers are able to find it. And they also should be able to spend some money on your website. That's kind of the whole point of building a website for your business. So that's why Squarespace works with Klarna, Apple Pay, ClearPay, Afterpay, PayPal, credit cards. If it's a way you can get paid on the internet, Squarespace makes it work for you. We made our website on your work computer in an afternoon because I thought it would be funny and I thought it would be a fun goof, and it was fun to put it together. Squarespace is so easy that it's actually fun. Check out squarespace.com to get started with your free trial today. Then go to squarespace.com/TulokMango for 10% off your first website or domain. Again, that is squarespace.com and then squarespace.com/TulokMango for 10% off your first website or domain. Now let's get back to those movies. If we want to take a gander at Alex Garland's filmography, he wrote 28 Days Later, a fantastic movie. He wrote and directed Ex Machina, which I believe was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, despite having a very tiny budget. Wrote and directed Annihilation, another movie that's pretty dependent on its visual effects and still had a very low, very reasonable budget. If Alex Garland has any sins on his resume, it's just that his last two movies were kinda mid. Men and Civil War both have the political depth of a pond while trying to be an ocean. You know, these are movies about like, oh, the patriarchy is bad in Men's case. And in Civil War, like, what if a civil war happened in the United States? These are interesting concepts you could make interesting movies about. And then Civil War is just kind of about how, like, war journalists are cool. And they say Texas and California seceded together? What? But Civil War is a big, epic movie with a lot of visual effects and a lot of moving parts that had a very low budget, reasonably considering what it was doing. It had a low budget. And budgets are the biggest problem in Hollywood right now. Y'all see that Snow White movie? Oh God, do I have to talk about Snow White? Okay, we're only talking about budgets. Okay, we're only talking about budgets. The Snow White movie almost cost $300 million. And why? Actually, it's pretty easy to determine why. We don't do pre-production anymore as filmmakers. I'm a filmmaker. I've made a couple billion-dollar movies. I just do this as a fun side gig. In general, studios don't like to do pre-production. For those who don't know, the stages of production are pre-production, production, and post-production. Production is when you're filming the movie with your camera and the actors are acting. And you have your stuff that happens on the camera. Post-production is when you put in all the visual effects and all that funky stuff and turn all those green screens into green dreams. Pre-production is where you plan the other two. It happens first, and you're supposed to plan out your production and plan out your post-production. But studios don't like pre-production because pre-production isn't even time making the movie. Why aren't you making the movie yet? You're just sitting in a room talking about how you're gonna make the movie? We don't have time for that. We can fix it in post. If you've seen some slop, some just ugly, atrocious CGI in recent years, it's because we want to produce movies as fast as possible, which means no pre-production time. Just get into production, film it, and then have VFX handle it. There's a few reasons that we do this. One is because production looks expensive, and because movie studios are very, very stupid. Pretty much every major company in America is only looking at this quarter and not the next quarter and not the next quarter. I have to get a little anti-capitalist right now. I'm so sorry if you're just here for everything else, but yeah, sorry, your boy's woke. But looking at the stock market and only caring about this fiscal quarter means that we're not going to spend money on pre-production this quarter that we could spend on post-production 2 quarters from now. You get what I'm saying? So they're not going to spend money to have people in a room talking about a movie, working with people who would make practical effects, practical puppets, practical sets, like literally just sets. Like for the actors, if they're in a scene where they're in a coffee shop, to like find a coffee shop, to location scout. These are all union jobs. Hollywood is super loaded with unions who require good pay and good benefits. There's one aspect of Hollywood that isn't unionized, and it's VFX workers, which is why movies all look like slop shit now. If you just watch like Casper, I watched the 2000s Casper when I had a head cold the other day. I had strep throat and a head cold at the same time, could not get off the couch, 104-degree fever, and I watched Casper. And folks, it looks so much better than every movie I've seen in the past 10 years because when they're in the Casper house and they're walking through a hallway with like cobwebs on it, they're in a fucking house, or they're in a hallway that someone built. They put up walls that are physical, that were there, that were next to the actors. So instead of having to have your VFX team make all of the shadows look right for everything that's in the environment, you can just turn a fucking light on and the shadow will happen. I have not actually double checked that this is going to be a thing that works, but I am confident in saying, editor, please show the Haunted Mansion from like 2 years ago next to Casper. Just show like 6 seconds of people going down hallways or just being on stairwells or something. Just show them next to each other. Point proven. I didn't even look it up. I don't have to look it up. That's how confident I am that movies all look ugly as shit because they don't do pre-production. It wasn't just a green screen like I have right here. I make YouTube videos. That's my excuse. I'm not doing this green screen because it's cheaper in this quarter to do it like this than it would be to do post-production 7 quarters from now. No, I'm doing it because, I live in a 2-bedroom. That I split rent on. But if we look at Alex Garland's movies and we look at A24's movies, they're looking pretty good. Look at Ex Machina. Like, there's a lot of practical set usage here. There's a lot of practical effect usage here. There's smart technical wizardry and not just, we can probably do it later. Folks, I want to see just a fucked up, gnarly looking Godric the Grafted. Like, just bones and spindlies kind of twisting and poking, And I keep bringing up Nosferatu, but it's a very recent A24 movie, and it was very good, and the visual effects were very good. Hi, I'm Phil from the future. Fuck, that's a TV show. My editor informed me that I talked a lot about how Nosferatu had really good production design on a low budget, and how that was a good thing in A24's favor. He brought that up because Nosferatu wasn't produced by A24. Whoops. To my credit, the reason I thought it was is because it was directed by Robert Eggers, who directed The Witch and The Lighthouse, two very prominent A24 movies, and I kind of always associated his movies with A24, even The Northman, but for whatever reason, I looked up The Northman and knew that wasn't A24, but I didn't do it for Nosferatu. So, apologies. The movie I should have been talking about anyway is The Green Knight, directed by David Lowery, which is quite literally an R-rated adult fantasy movie. That's what it is. It's medieval, it's Knights of the Round, it's fantasy elements, big old giants, cool set design, spooky woods. Looking that up, the budget was $15 million. If you've seen Green Knight, you know it's a good looking movie. And if you haven't seen Green Knight, go watch Green Knight. It's a really good looking movie, especially for $15 million. It's not super action heavy like an Elden Ring movie would be, but it's a good indication of set design and what good pre-production can do for your budget and how good your movie looks moving forward. In conclusion, stan Green Knight. Also, Dev Patel would be great in an Elden Ring movie. I'd watch it. Boy, if we can get like that freaky creature team to work on Godric, oh, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be lit. It's gonna be filmed, and it's gonna be cheaper, because even though I said like all of these union positions are union people that you have to pay well, they are cheaper than slamming a VFX house and demanding that they get Ant-Man Quantumania out, but also, you know, that half of them go start working on Wakanda Forever, because that's actually probably a more important movie. Quantumania was just to show Kang. How's that working out for you, Marvel? Am I suggesting that studios would deliberately spend more money and make less of a profit to spite unions? Yeah. And sadly, the Dungeons and Dragons movie fell victim to this a little bit, though the Dungeons and Dragons movie had a lot of good practical effects and did practical effects work when they can. The directors of the movie also did Game Night, another movie that's really, really good, but there was still a bunch of CGI kind of at the end for an unproven property, and you guys, you shouldn't have spent $200 million on a Dungeons and Dragons movie. You should have known that wasn't a good idea. I mean, I'd argue that it was still a great idea, and that even if it wasn't an out-and-out box office success, that everyone who bought a ticket to that movie was effectively paying to watch a 2-hour advertisement for Hasbro products. So, you know, that seems like it's still got its own value. The team liked making it and says that they're down to do another one. So, you know, maybe just make another one and realize that you're making an advertisement for toys that people will pay money to see. So it doesn't matter actually if it's profitable. You're just advertising Dungeons and Dragons and making people like Dungeons and Dragons. We don't have to talk about Dungeons and Dragons here. I talked about it on another channel. I actually did a whole video on it. Personally, I don't see the Elden Ring movie having a budget above $125 million, which I know sounds like a lot of money, but in Hollywood terms is not a lot of money. That's actually not a lot of money at all. And if the movie is good, people will go see it. If we look at something like Sinners, it's an R-rated adult original movie, budget of $90 million. People went out to see it because it was really good. People like really good movies. If you just make a really good movie, a lot of times people will go see it. If you make a kind of okay movie, yeah, people will probably miss it. But if you just make a really good movie, people will be into that. I also just have a lot of faith in A24 because I'm, you know, a dumb film nerd. I'm not grabbing my glasses because I don't know where they are, because I can't see them because I don't have my glasses on. But yeah, A24 is a great studio, and I doubt that they were the only ones bidding on this movie. I can't imagine Warner Brothers didn't want a piece of this. It's George R.R. Martin. They do the Game of Thrones shit. Having something and being like, the studio who made Game of Thrones and the bird of Game of Thrones, the guy who wrote Game of Thrones, wrote the video game. They'd love that. They love making R-rated fantasy stuff because they do the Game of Thrones. I bet Amazon would be into doing it because their Lord of the Rings show ain't doing so well, and they probably want a big dumb fantasy thing like Game of Thrones. I would guess Netflix probably bid on it because they're always looking for big new series, and Elden Ring could be a series. I don't think it's totally unreasonable to look at Elden Ring and be like, oh, that should be like a TV show that's really long, not a movie or series of movies. But they went with A24, who probably had the lowest bid, if I were to guess. Because while A24 has been making a lot of smart decisions, they don't have a lot of flops because their movies' budgets are reasonable. They're also all horror movies, and horror movies have a built-in audience that comes to see them. Horror is just a great genre to invest your money in. If you're a studio, you can make a movie for like $8 million and then it makes $30 million and you've got profit. I guess I should probably mention that budget and box office are not direct related. So if you have an $80 million budget, $80 million at the box office is not a profitable movie. You need to make about double that because of Hollywood accounting. It's just sort of a generic term for studios want to pretend their movies was a loss. For tax purposes, it's the plot of the producers. But also there are some real aspects to this. One, marketing is never listed as part of a movie's budget, which I don't understand. Generally for like a $200 million movie, you spend about $200 million advertising it. Studios also don't make 100% of the revenue that comes in from the box office. They split it with the theaters. Now the theaters get a lower percentage than the studio does, and most theaters actually only make profits on popcorn and soda, which is why they sell you so much popcorn and so much soda. Popcorn is a dirt cheap snack to make. Soda is dirt cheap to run out of fountains. But while you are complaining about your high prices for your popcorn and your soda, that is the only way your theater is making money, especially if it's a local theater. Buy some popcorn, get a soda, help your local theater out. If it's a chain theater, I don't know, fuck them. But if it's a local theater and you like seeing movies there, get a popcorn, get a soda, please. I've seen some other people a bit worried about where the story of the Elden Ring movie would be, and this is something that doesn't really bother me. If it happens during the Tarnished era, I do think that would be a mistake. FromSoft games always kind of have you showing up as like the janitor of the world that's ending, just cleaning up all the shit people spilled on the floor as they ended the world. And narratively, that's not really an exciting movie. But The Shattering War could be a very cool movie. The Night of Black Knives would be a very good movie. Literally just Melania's campaign from Limgrave to Caelid would be a sick movie. I'd watch all of it. I'd love to watch Godric get his shit rocked by Melania in 4K on an IMAX screen while shoveling popcorn and M&Ms in my mouth. That's my movie theater snack, by the way. I get M&Ms, I get popcorn. That's really good. It's really good. Hell, I'm playing a lot of Night Rain now. I would love it if they just did the Night Rain story because all of the Night Rain PCs are so cool and so stylish and also so fleshed out. I do think it would be a problem to have the main character be the Tarnished because everyone's Tarnished was different. And if you canonize a Tarnished and say that, oh, the Tarnished actually was, he was a shield sword build. And they wouldn't make it a guy. It'd be a guy. I can just tell it'd be a guy. Because it's a movie. Alex Garland makes a movie about, the patriarchy being bad and stuff. It'd still be a guy. I'll bet money that it's going to be a guy. Not to any of you, because there's too many of you. And if I owed all of you $5, I would never financially recover from that. But in my personal life, I'll bet $5 that, the main character's going to be a dude. I just feel it in my bones. And no, I don't think Jack Black is going to be in it. I think it would be very stupid and very out of character for Alex Garland, for A24, to put Jack Black in it. The only thing I could possibly see is him voicing Iron Jar Alexander. Even that, I think, seems very far-fetched. Frankly, one of the things I'm sad about is I don't know that we will get a Great Jar character. I don't know that Alex will show up, and I think that's a mistake. Because if there is one concern I have for the Elden Ring movie, it's that it will take itself far too seriously. Don't get me wrong, I am not looking for Chicken Jockey. I am not looking even for a Princess Bride tone, even though that movie is fantastic. I'm just saying, like, Game of Thrones has jokes, Game of Thrones is a very, very dark show, but the characters still smile occasionally, and that is something that I found in Alex Garland's work that doesn't really happen all that much. There isn't a ton of levity. The only thing I can think of is the Oscar Isaac dance, and that's fantastic. If they want to get Oscar Isaac to do an Oscar Isaac dance in this movie, 10 out of 10, no notes. I'm not saying that moment doesn't rock. I'm just saying that's like the only moment that I can think of in all of Alex Garland's work that's like a little goofy. And there are jar guys, you know? Alexander just falls into holes because he's so stupid. He gets more slippy than a toad. I'm really just talking about Alex here, but like, Blythe is funny. He's a big dog man, you know? The game's funny pretty regularly. Hell, there's just so many slapstick moments where you die because you fell off a cliff, and they might as well have a Wile E. Coyote sound effect. Pretty good sound effect. Pretty good sound effect, right? Pretty good sound effect, right? Not a bad one. But if that's my biggest complaint with the Elden Ring movie, it'll be, you know, a solid B+. And that'll be pretty great. So I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it at all. I've seen worse shit on the local news. How do you feel about the Elden Ring movie? Do you think it's going to be good? What are you hoping to see in that Elden Ring movie? Why don't you let me know in the comments below? Then check out the Patreon if you want to support the channel. We also have a Discord channel that's connected to the Patreon if you've got your Patreon connected to Discord. And that's where people are coming up together and they're doing runs of Night Rain together. There's a beautiful community being fostered there with color-coded Discord handles so you can see what console everyone's playing. We also do Tulok the Cardbarian if you like Magic the Gathering content. That's the same editor who edited this video. Thanks, Cade. Bye-bye.